Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to the Green Creek book tag. This was created by my friend Marie. I will link her stuff down below, and this is based on a book, but I haven't read it, so you don't need to read it in order to do this tag. It's based on Wolfsong by TJ Klune, and TJ Klune also wrote The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I've not read either of them. Shame on me, but I'm going to do this tag anyway. Prompt number 1 is Wolfsong, and that is your favourite friends to lovers story. And for me, this would ultimately be Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Nick and Charlie are absolutely adorable and gorgeous. And at the same time as this being completely romantic and cute and wholesome, it also tackles mental health and coming out when you're not ready and a lot of identity focused storylines. And so I really like that it had that queer friendship group, there was found family, but there were also tensions in the story to overcome as well. But it also gave enough gravity to the main characters that it was easy to read, it was fluffy, and it was just lovely. I've reread this, I've watched the show on Netflix, I can't wait for season 2. It's one of my most favourite series ever. Prompt number 2 is packpackpack, which is found family. I love stories with found family, but when I was thinking about this, I had one author come straight to mind, and that is Becky Chambers. So I'm going to say The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet because I have recently read, loved, and reviewed that book. And it was also a reread for me. I adore it, obviously. It's a science fiction, so it's set in space after humans have left Earth in what's called the Oxygen Fleet. And so you're following characters from different planets and different cultures and even alien species as they come together on the Wayfarer, which is a ship. And this ship punches wormholes through space. It connects point A to point B, but before it can even connect point A to point B, it has to traverse from point A all the way to point B and then punch a wormhole back. So to do that, the characters often spend a lot of time together because they're going on a long haul through space. And so from that, you get this beautiful found family dynamic with different cultures intersecting and understandings not quite aligning. And so it's beautifully vulnerable and unique and charismatic and funny, but also adorable and wholesome as well. And it just felt so comforting and so safe. And so if you want like a cozy science fiction story, it does have tension, but it's mostly character driven. If you want a cozy sci-fi, I highly recommend Becky Chambers' Angry Planet in particular. Prompt number 3 is Ravensong, which is your favorite second chance romance. And I don't read a ton of romance, and I couldn't think of anything for this question except for Illuminae, which features characters that had just recently broken up, and then there's a massive explosion, potential trauma, and then characters trying to survive a zombie outbreak virus in space. So nothing like trauma to make your relationship be rekindled, I suppose. I liked Illuminae at the time, I liked Gemina and Obsidio as well, but I don't necessarily think that I'd go back and reread them. They are also sci-fi, so kind of fitting with the theme though. Prompt 4 is Green Creek, which is your favourite location and setting, and I am sorry if you can hear the cars going past. The street seems to be busy whenever I want to film. Anyhow, Green Creek, your favourite location. I would choose Legends and Lattes for this, which is again a cozy story but not sci-fi. This is fantasy this time, and it follows an orc, and she doesn't want to kill people anymore. She basically saves up or has saved up all the money from her previous bounties and gone, I'm out, and she starts this little coffee shop. So it chronicles her building up her store, finding suppliers and all that kind of thing, and people actually haven't heard of coffee before, they don't know what it is. So she's trying to start up this business and this company and get customers, but nobody knows what coffee is. So it's also wholesome, and I love the different characters and how they add to the story dynamic, and I absolutely would love to sit in that cafe and eat all the pastries and drink all the coffee and just spend an entire day there and not leave. It's one of the places that I absolutely adored, and I felt the coziness of it as I was reading. Prompt number 5 is Elizabeth, and that is your favourite family matriarch. And this one stumped me as well, but I managed to come to a decision. However, I only have book 2, and book 1 is where this character obviously is featured. The series is by Talia Hibbert, and the grandmother in this features, yes, in this one, but also in Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And she's very much that matriarchal character. She is the port of call when anybody in the family needs advice. She's kind of like this glamour queen, so I like to think of her as Moira, like in Schitt's Creek, except instead of her being standoffish, she's actually got that Hollywood-esque-ness about her and that glamour to her, but she's way more down to earth and way more personable and approachable, whereas Moira seems far off on her pedestal. So that's what came to mind when I thought of matriarch, because she kind of does run the family behind the scenes in the sense that everyone trusts her, and so she's got a connection to everybody, kind of like the top of the family tree, and everybody inevitably comes back to her for advice. So I thought that was a pretty good answer for this question. Then we've got question or prompt 6, which is Tether, and that is your favourite bond, whether that's platonic or romantic. And I am going with one that is going to be romantic, but at the moment is more platonic. And I thought I had it here with me, but I do not. It is Lore Olympus, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling. And I love how the relationship between Hades and Persephone is really building here. It's not going super fast, so it's kind of a slow burn, but you get the characters being trusting and vulnerable with each other while also respecting boundaries and understanding everyone else's perception of them as well. I really think it's adorable, and I love the genuine interactions, and it also does deal with themes of sexual assault and rape in the story. So if that is going to be a concern for you, just be warned. It is handled with the gravity it deserves, and it also has a wholesome side with the characters and also friendship and support. So I quite like all of the volumes so far. I've read all 3 that are physically published, and it also is a webcomic. So I'm avoiding the webcomic because I don't want to catch up and then have nothing to read. And then we've got prompt 7, which is Gordo's, and that is favourite friendship group. And I've doubled up by accident and I thought I varied it. So I've gone with the Wayfarer again from the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And I've obviously chosen it because it's so unique and wholesome, but also I feel like I need to vary my answer. So I might throw back with nostalgia and go Percy Jackson, because I loved Annabeth, Grover and Percy as a trio when they went on their quests. So I'm going to go for those guys instead of Wayfarers, because I feel like if I use the same book on a prompt, it's kind of cheating. And then number 8 is Livingstone, which is favorite villain. And for this one, I really struggled. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is my favorite villain. I would say though that it's a favorite, or not even favorite moment, but it's a standout moment from a villainous character that I have recently read. And that was in Saga, and I won't say which volume, but it was incredible in the sense that you understood why things were happening. But on the flip side of that, it also very actively broke my heart. So I was feeling all of the emotions when I reread this as well. It's not like I had read it for the first time and I was completely blindsided. So still on my read through, it just broke my heart. And so I think that is pivotal for a villain. They have to do something that makes sense to you as a reader, because it makes sense for them to be in character, but it also has to upset you or unnerve you or do something to you emotionally. And that's what these characters did. I'm not going to say who, because everyone in this story is fairly morally grey, and so I don't want to spoil anything. Just read Saga. And then we've only got 2 prompts left. So question 9 or prompt 9 is Brother Song, which is your favourite sibling duo. Again, when I saw this question, I was like, have I read about siblings ever in my life? But then I thought of Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And Alex, the main character, has a sister named June, and Alex and June play off each other really well. They both support each other too. And what really stood out to me in this story in particular is that they both, while they were interlinked, because obviously they're siblings, they had way different approaches to different beats in the story. And I really like how they kind of stood on their own, even though technically Alex is the main character and June is a supporting character. She had her own goals and backstory as well, and I really liked that they felt very individual to me. But then they also put forward a very united front, which I really enjoy. I like the loyalty of that, and I like the solidarity of that. And then finally, prompt number 10 is favourite supernatural creature. This was hard. A lot of these questions challenged me, so I had to write them down before I started filming. Otherwise, I'd just come up blank and then that wouldn't be very interesting. So with this question, I thought of my favourites as being werewolves because I love that shape-shifting aspect. But a lot of werewolf stories that I read really leans on that whole alpha male thing. And I really don't like that. I don't like the whole, oh, alpha male override. I don't know. It really blurs the lines of consent for me. And I find that really a huge struggle with vampires as well. It's like the bloodlust overtakes the victim and then they want to comply with everything the vampire's doing. Like, I don't like that. I prefer a little bit of a gap between that. So the characters have their own agency kind of thing. So I really wanted to say werewolves, but I love the shape-shifting and not like the alphaness of it. but I also really like vampires and the immortality of them. And the only example I can think of lately that I really loved is Silver Under Nightfall, which features vampires, noble court vampires, but also heavy communication and polyamory. And I'm like, can this be in every story I read about supernatural creatures ever? Because not only did it have characters that had been alive so long that they've obviously got a lot of baggage and so they need to communicate, it had elements of standoffishness and coldness and then also brooding, but all of these characters communicated perfectly. And they were vulnerable when they needed to be, but they were strong when they needed to be as well, and they were violent when they needed to be too. So I really loved Silver Under Nightfall. It's one of my new favorites, and I will take any opportunity I can to say, please read it. So please read it. But there you go. That is the end of the Green Creek book tag. If you want to do it too, I tag you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.